What is going on, guys? Gary Yaman here, back at again with a new video, and in this video gonna do the review of the Nikon Z50 or the Nikon Z50, whatever you want to call it. And this version is including the kit lens and a adapter. Unfortunately, I don't have any Nikon lenses or older lenses that I can use that adapter on, so this will be a review without that adapter and how that actually works. I've got a lot to discuss about today, and doing a review, you can do it on many different ways, on a GoPro, on just like this talking head, or use it outside in the field. But because of the whole situation in the world, I am a little bit limited, and I hope I can share you a little bit more. I've been using this now for a couple of weeks, and I've been using it each and every day to see if this is any good. I'm gonna talk about how the body feels, how it looks, how it actually works, the menu system, and after that I'm gonna talk about the image quality for both photo and video, and after that the overall conclusion of this little camera. So let's talk about the build. Once you have it in your hand, I don't have the biggest hands in the world, but once you grab it and you really feel a grip and really feels nice in your hand. As you see, my whole hand is tight on the body, or is locked on the body, has a nice grip, has a nice feel to it. Not sure if it's weather sealed or not, but it does feels very good. So yeah, that's about it for the grip. Let's talk about the dials. I'm gonna do a little overlay. As you see on top of it, the dials are looking quite nice. I'm not sure if it's actually a beginner's camera or not, but for a starter's camera or a entry-level camera, it does have many dials and buttons. So at the front we got the little switch for aperture or whatever you wanna customize it to your own likings, and then also on the bottom here, or at the front actually, you got the two FN buttons, which I really don't understand why it's there, because it's not very reachable and really awkward to press on. At the top section we got the on and off button, the record button for video, the ISO that you can switch or change, and then exposure, and after that you got this little main dial, I guess, to change the modes, or the mode dial. And also you got the switch here that switches between photo and video. What I really like about the switch is that the settings will change to your video settings and then back again to your photo settings, so that's very nice. Some cameras, when you switch to video, it still remains on the same settings as with your photo settings, so this is a really nice feature. Then you got this dial here that is for your shutter speed, and a little button here on the left side shows you if you want to use the main screen or the viewfinder, or just switch it automatically. At the back you got a little dial here, or a dial, not sure if it's called a dial or a circular wheel. It's not really a wheel because you cannot turn it, it's more like a D-pad. Then you got the menu and some buttons here, and also that's about it. It also has a little flash, as you see, and this flash might come in handy once in a while, but usually most people don't really use it, at least not because it hits directly in your face, but it can be handy from time to time. Let's talk about the inputs of this camera. You got on the left side, you got the microphone jack, you got the HDMI and USB. At the bottom you got the battery, and you also got one card slot. As you see, I have a little bit difficulties with opening this. One card slot, and it fits really nicely. And if you open this, if you have your camera on a tripod, you can easily remove the memory card or the battery, and it won't hit your tripod at all. So that's about it for the build and how it feels. It feels really good, and all the buttons feels also very good, not very cheap at all. The materials that have been used are really good. The battery life, by the way, is quite good. It actually lasts about 5 or 6 hours if you do only photography, but if you switch around with video, especially doing 4K, then your battery will last around 2-3 hours or so. So not the greatest, but then again, it's also very small battery. The screen itself and the viewfinder, the resolution on it, not sure what the exact resolution is. You can just easily look that up on the Nikon website, but it really looks quite good and sharp with nice colors and sharpness and brightness and stuff like that. One of the features of this camera is that you can flip the screen like this, and I don't really understand why it flips downwards, because you know, if you have this on a tripod and you want to film yourself, or you want to take a picture of yourself or from your surroundings with yourself included, you cannot do that because it will block the tripod. And next to that, if you have this in your hand, it's very uncomfortable to hold, and it just feels really weird if you press on it and take the photo. You know, it doesn't, I have it on silent mode, it doesn't feel really good, especially if you're not left-handed. If you're right-handed and you have it on this side, how are you able to press on the shutter button? So that's really annoying, especially if someone here on your left side, you can take a photo or film yourself. You cannot take a photo because you cannot reach the button. So that's really strange. So I wish it goes up or on the left side, and I just wish it was easier. Let's talk about the menu system. So first of all, I'm not sure if this is a entry-level camera or a camera focused more for beginners. If so, then the menu system might be overwhelming, because you got lots and lots of features and options, and everything is customizable. What I do like is that everything is touchscreen, so you can just touch it as you do with your smartphone, and you can just swipe through it and you can select everything, and it works really fast and very good as well. So very responsive. You got all those menu tabs on the left side. Looking at the menu, you got lots and things that you can select, that you can change, that you can adjust, customize. First of all, you got the playback menu, and this is just a normal playback menu that you can that every camera has, so nothing very exciting to talk about. The photo shooting menu is very extensive, very elaborate. For a beginner it might be overwhelming, as I mentioned, and you got lots of things, lots of modes and customizable things, lots of features. Things that I really like is that it has interval timer built in, so you don't have to download anything or do it from a app on your phone or anything. It's all built in. You got also time-lapse movie, so it automatically creates a movie for you, and in that you can also select if you want to have it as a 4K footage or as a 1080p footage, which is really good and really nice. I've been using it quite some time as well, and I really like and really enjoy using that feature. Let's go to the movie shooting menu. Of course, many people are actually interested nowadays to see if it can do 4K. Yes, it can do 4K up to 30 frames per second. It can do even 1080p at 120 frames per second. So that's very nice. I'm gonna show you some footage as well, some things that you can just look at and how it actually looks like when you shoot in 1080p, when you shoot at 4K, when you shoot at 1080p in slow motion. What's also very nice is that it has a built-in slow motion mode as well, but I like to do it in post manually. You got lots of things. What you don't have is that you don't have a neutral or a flat profile. That is something that you have to keep in mind if you are willing to do a lot of filming, a lot of videos. Then keep in mind it does not have any flat profile built in. But of course you can just use a neutral profile, lower the settings such as the saturation, the contrast or the sharpness, and then in post you can just adjust that and then grade the footage. But it would be nice if you have just a flat profile that you can choose from. Optical VR or electronic VR, meaning the built-in stabilization or electronic, and it works pretty well. Don't expect any gimbal-like footage. It really helps with just easy shots, holding it handheld like this and just panning around. It works. it doesn't look weird or bad and everything. You can adjust the microphone, which is very nice. This is only the photo and video menu, and as you see, there are lots of things to explore and to check. Then after that, you got a custom setting menu. This menu even goes further in depth into your settings, such as your autofocus. You can choose if you want to have it on the face detection mode or face and eye. So quite a lot of things. How many focus points you want to use. Lots and lots of things. And even for a pro like me, I even found myself like, oh, that's nice. Oh, I didn't know that, you know. There are things that you just didn't know, and then when you dive into the system or into this menu, then you see that you got lots of things to customize. And that is something that I really like, but I can imagine for a beginner or a starter that they don't even touch this maybe. But I think it's really nice to have, because you have a camera that you can just grow with, and you can learn more than just the basics. So that's something that I really like. Can I say so? A lot of things to customize. You got the setup menu which shows the brightness, and you can adjust that and everything. A retouch menu. I don't ever use a retouch menu that is built in the camera. There might be people using that, but I never see myself doing that, because I use software on the computer to do that. So might be handy for some people. I don't use it at all. Then you got the my menus, and you can just put everything there that you use the most, and then you have your own personal menu. Right, so to summarize this little part of this video, it is a nice camera to hold with nice features built in, both for photo and video. You got everything you want in a entry-level camera and even more. So let's talk about the image quality and the performance of this little guy. For me, this is more important than how the camera feels in your hand and what the menu system is. For me, it's most important that the image quality is high and that the performance is high as well. First of all, let's talk about the image quality and the performance in photos and photography. How does it take photos? Does it look good? And what do I think about it? The image quality of this camera in regards to photo is looking really good. Straight off the camera, stuff is looking very good. The colors are good as well. So no complaints in that. And even when shooting raw, you can adjust in your own likings, and that's even better. And everything is looking very nice as well. So you can make beautiful pictures with this camera. I wish I had a better lens, so that I get more of a artistic level that I really prefer in my photos than just with the kit lens. But you know, you can still make beautiful things with just the kit lens. But then let's talk about the performance. And with performance, I mean the autofocus, for instance, and how it actually works. Is it fast enough? And you know, all those things in regards to performance. And the autofocus of this camera is not the best. And it's really a shame, because it really hunts quite a lot. And with a lot of things, when you see that it's very obvious for the autofocus system, you know, for most cameras, when you see something, it just focus on it, on things that are very obvious, such as something that you hold in front of the camera and you just want to focus on it. But somehow this camera, I'm not sure if it's because of the lens, it doesn't focus on the most obvious things sometimes. So because of that, here's a little example as well. I'm going to show you an example, and there you can see that it doesn't focus on the thing that is just in front of the camera. I'm not sure why. I've changed a lot of settings. You can change the autofocus speed, you can change the autofocus, how it reacts. All those things I've adjusted, but somehow I cannot manage to have it as I really want it. Maybe it's just a firmware update, maybe it's because of the lens. I'm really not sure, but the autofocus is not reliable. And even when I thought sometimes just for something like a flower, I was like, alright, this is a very easy picture to test out the autofocus. Let's take a picture of this. And I actually thought it was in focus, but when I dropped it in my PC, I looked at it, and then it was not in focus, so it's really not reliable as I hoped. So maybe Nikon that they can update it via a firmware update or something, then it will be very good. I'm not even sure if there is an update already. This is the firmware version 1.10. I'm not sure if there is now a new firmware update available. If so, then maybe that will help out with the autofocus. So for photos, great images. You can really produce great images, but the autofocus is not really good. Making videos with the Nikon Z50 is very enjoyable, at least for me. You got all the microphone, you got the microphone input, so you can have very good audio as well. And also just the image quality out of it is looking very good. Even with the kit lens, I really enjoyed it. But also here the autofocus is just not reliable. So I end up using the manual focus most of the time. And a lot of times just the autofocus just doesn't work. I'm not sure why, I really don't know, but the autofocus is not good. But once it does, it looks really good. So keep that in mind. Be aware if you buy this camera that there might be some issues with the autofocus. Not sure if it's because of the lens again or a firmware update, or maybe it's just a firmware update away from having better autofocus. So I think that's about it. So to summarize everything, you do realize that I don't have a script or anything. Everything is top of the mind, and just I'm actually freestyling a little bit right now. And just to summarize this whole camera review, this video, what do I think about this camera? First of all, it really feels good in the hand. It takes good pictures. It produces nice video footage. But the autofocus is not reliable, but maybe it's just a firmware update away from that. And the screen, it doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. Why would you put a screen down there? You cannot record yourself. But in overall, this camera for a beginner or even more than a beginner, this is actually quite a decent camera. And if you really want this camera, then you will not be disappointed once you have this little guy. Yes.
Hi. Lams of kalf heb je dan? Oh, lams, zei
Lams.
meneer. Is dat goed?
Ja.
Lams? Oké.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
goed.
Okay.
Oké, dankjewel.
Doei. Alright, that's all. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe if not already. Like the video. Comment down below. What do you think about this camera? If you really want it. Why do you want it? Let me know. Let's discuss about this camera a little bit more further in this little section. And so yeah, that's all. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Stay inside if you really have to stay inside. And I'll be seeing you in the next one. Alright, good luck. Alright, this is with stabilization. 4K, 25 frames per second. Okay, internal mic, how does it sound? 1, 2, 3, test, 1, 2, 3. This is the internal mic from the Nikon Z50. And now the same, this is now 1080p, 25 frames per second, with stabilization. At 1080p, 25 frames per second. Hang on guys, this is just a normal test. If you would suppose to do a YouTube video with a microphone. So yeah, this is the footage. It's now 4K, 25 frames per second, straight out of camera. This is, I think, the standard profile, so no color editing or color grading, editing, grading, whatever you want to call it, straight out of camera. What do you think about this? So that's all.